Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,
I'm like nervous about not getting a team because no one's like offered to do it, but I always wonder if it's helpful or not because I feel like it's like one side of the story or the other.
What do you mean?
Like having like management agents, like it's funny, someone told me I should get an accountant before I get a manager, which I'm like, oh shit, what? Like there's so much shit you need to learn in the business side of it.
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's really no rush. You can do a lot of it on your own, but I think you'll know when it's right that you find someone that you are excited to work with.
Yeah.
And they're just as excited to work with you. But a lot of times you go through a few, it's like, trial and error, like dating. You date, you're with someone for a while and then you're like, oh, actually, this isn't really my forte anymore. I'm going to go scope out what they are offering over here or vice versa. But I don't feel like they're like make or break situations, representation. I mean, it depends on like who you have though.
Yeah.
So.
But it helps.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
For you,
helps.
like you have the right people.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of like slacking though on the, like I hate doing commercial auditions and I get a lot of them and I think probably my agent's like, can you probably do better? Like I kind of.
Have you been in commercials?
No, I have a few, but they're usually, I got them through other things, not like the traditional eco cast,
Yeah.
which is like a Zoom audition essentially, or like self-tape.
It's funny. My friend was like asking me about doing the lottery. And I was like, nah. And I was like, do you? And he's like, nah, like someone like me will never win the lottery. And I think about that with my career too, where it's like, I think I'm going to have to do it my own way. Like, I don't think I don't think the universe is going to give me a normal path.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know. Does the universe give you any path? Like, I sort of think you have to push forward always in whatever that is, and then things will like reveal itself to you. Because I also heard this one time, and it was really smart. Someone told me this years and years ago, that once someone goes through, like picture like clay, once they go through, that's their path, like their little tunnel that they like chip away at, it's consider it closed and you need to find your own. So like as much as you want to imitate someone else's trajectory or journey, it's never going to be the same for you. So like, yeah, to basically echo your point, like make your own unique path. Yeah.
Because no one's comfortable. Like you probably realize this, like the more successful people you meet, the more people you realize aren't comfortable. And that's what success is.
Yeah. Comfortable as in like emotionally comfortable, or
I just
like
mean comfortable in what they're doing. Like you have to always want more. Like you have to always.
No,
like,
it's so true. That's like a fucked up way to think, but that is what keeps people great, sadly, is that always striving, cross off the list, what's next, always looking for that next big exciting thing, but that can be like a slippery slope mentally.
Oh, it's horrible because like every time I get an accolade, I'm always like, what's next?
Yeah, you and me both. And I do think that keeps us hustling for what we want to achieve. But I also heard the energy you have now, you automatically bring to that next chapter of your life, whether you're waiting for that big promotion or big TV credit or, your dreams to fully realize. If you're in this like anxious kind of waiting period and you go, once I get that thing, I'll feel better or I'll be in a better place. That's not actually the case. It's a misconception. You're going to bring that same nervous, anxious energy, the less than, the feeling scarcity to that place of dreams fully realized. So you have to fix it and feel it now and act as if you already have it, vibrate at that frequency, and then you attract it quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you know that though. Like we know that, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah. And it's also, you feel like you get to one thing and then that's what you wanted. And then you have to like re-realize your dreams.
Yeah. And then don't you ever,
So, okay. Yeah. Was Nick's your biggest, like, was that the thing you want? Like, what was your like proudest moment? What was your biggest accomplishment
so far?
to date?
Oh, okay. I'll probably just say this because I'm looking at the I haven't got it framed yet, but I'm looking at that poster behind you, which is when I got to open for Jeff Ross like 2 months ago, like basically right before Thanksgiving. And that was just such a huge moment for me because I've always looked up to Jeff Ross, and to be able to have him, he headlined, 5 shows, like 3 dates in Charlotte, and just seeing someone, they're basically all sold out, and seeing someone crush so hard with such a low energy, I learned a lot from that weekend, and he's so kind. And so that was, I wouldn't say that's the biggest accomplishment, but that's like one of my career highlights. But I think maybe my biggest accomplishment was when I got booked at Off Cabot in October, just a few months ago, I guess. And I only had a few weeks to kind of promote it, but I thought, oh, I want to try to sell this space out. And that's after I had done the Wilbur with Brian Glowacki and kind of had a lot of family and friends coming out for that show because he was headlining and I was featuring for him, which was really fun, along with Alex Giampapa. And I had like 200 family and friends come out the Wilbur. So I guess this year was big for me because the Wilbur was huge. I always want to be on that stage at the Wilbur in Boston, like dreams come true for sure. Jeff Ross, dreams come true. But then I used those to build the momentum to go, okay, I'll do Off Cabot, even though I was sort of worried about like tapping back into all my family and friends and fans and saying, hey, come on out again a few months later to watch me headline. Yeah. There'll be some overlap in material. I know you just came out, but like come out again, and challenge myself to get new fans. So got a big mix of new fans just from, like we talked about earlier, just, put in the work in terms of promoting and marketing and stuff. And so I ended up selling out and doing 70 minutes on stage, which I had never done before.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it felt like nothing. That's the crazy thing too. It felt like nothing. It felt like 5 minutes. Like when I got the light at 45 minutes, I wasn't even at my new material yet. Like it was sort of a compilation of everything I was proud of and have worked on in my entire career. And so it makes sense that I was able to do that much time, but the level of positive reception like blew my mind. Like it was way more than I had thought was going to be. It just like really humbled me and impressed me in a way that I was like, hot damn. Kind of like in that moment, Sam, I was sort of like, I could do, like, when you're up there and you're just so in your flow and your element, and I'm like, oh, I am built for this. All the bullshit of getting booked, getting butts in seats, traveling, getting by, scraping by, all the negative self-talk, all the bullshit that comes along with this career. If you put that all aside and you're just like on stage in your element with like a really hot, warm audience, fans, you're just like, nothing else matters. Like I just saw, I was like, oh, I could do the Netflix special. I could do this. Like everything was so clear for me in that moment on stage when I was like at like minute 55, 60, just, they had to like pull me off stage. Like I was like, oh, I guess I need to go. It's been 70 minutes. So that was my biggest accomplishment. And I'm sorry for going on and on, but I think, we rarely pat ourselves on the back, and it's nice to do it every once in a while, especially like this time of year, reflecting on the year past. It's so easy to go, I've been doing this for X amount of years, and why am I not there? Like, it's so easy to compare. That's the cheap way.
That's dope. I was letting you finish. I was letting you finish. I was letting you go. I was letting you go on your happy,
feel awkward.
your happy rant.
I know, but I immediately feel, I know I'm also neurotic and anxious. I'm like, did I say too much? Was I gloating too much? I'm just such a fucking comic. I'm just so in my head that I feel good sharing that with you. And since you asked, but now I'm immediately like, oh fuck, did I say too much? Because I don't want to seem too weird about it, but I guess I have to own those moments, because if I don't, why the fuck am I doing this?
No, for real. And it's so funny, like people who get mad at it, why can't they just get inspired by it?
Well, because there's so much jealousy. I don't even know if people like consciously get mad. I don't think anyone wants to get mad. I think that jealousy is so real and it's so competitive and cluttered in this industry. I think people can't get themselves to that higher level of thinking of inspiration or like camaraderie or anything. It's more like, damn, I could have done that, or why wasn't I picked for this? As if like there's just one slot at X place. There's just the limits. Or there's so
many like slices of the pie, which isn't.
It's not the case. I know.
But that's the uncomfortability.
So that's back to, yeah, wow, you are good at this. You really are. I see why this podcast is trending and popular.
But it's true. It's about the uncomfortability of, if you were just comfortable with something, then like you wouldn't care about pushing it forward.
And you don't grow in this stage of comfort. Yeah. You have to have discomfort.
Like, I'm so nervous about doing whatever, like 40 minutes.
You're going to crush. I mean, so much of it is, as you know, just like your mentality going into it. Yeah. So you're just going to have a great time. I mean, it's going to fly by. Just set yourself up really nice where you are starting with the stuff you're excited about and ending with the stuff you're excited about. And I think the rest is pie. I
was talking earlier about like the story. Like, I enjoy the story. Like, I enjoy the like looking back and being like, that happened because that happened because that happened, which allowed that to happen, which brought me here. And that's like what brings me joy. So when I'm listening to you talk about like your year, it's funny. You're like, I did that right before Thanksgiving. And then you talk about like getting laid off around Thanksgiving. And how like sometimes the universe pushes you to like give that step. Like, you don't even get the choice.
Yeah. I mean, I just got a kind of an emotional rush in me just from you saying that. I was feeling it for sure. It's definitely.
But like, if it happens around the same time, your proudest moment, and like something that pulls the rug out from under you, it's like, can the universe see? Can you like, are you going to fly? Are you going to handle it? Or are you going to crash, you know? Yeah,
no, definitely. It's like the mama bird kicking me out of the nest. Like, let's go. Yeah. Let's fucking go. Let's see. You've been training for this moment. Yeah. And I it's funny because I used to joke around a lot when there were layoffs every year at my company, because working in TV and just, you know, a lot of cord cutters, it's hard to stay profitable in TV with like competitors like Netflix, Hulu, etc. Like and for years I was sort of seeing coworkers, friends be let go, and I was almost like felt like Katniss in Hunger Games, like I volunteer as tribute, like laying me off, because I wanted to collect that severance and I wanted to have that time off. But then when it happens to you, even if you've been preparing for it or you knew like the writing's on the wall, you're never like fully ready to feel like, oh, it's like, we don't need you anymore. Like, you're not, like, you just feel, even though you have this other thing that you care way more about and you've been working on and nurturing for years, like, AKA my stand-up career, I still hated hearing or feeling like, oh no, like, I'm replaceable here. Like, I'm not worthy.
It's like getting broken up within a relationship you're not happy in anyway.
Totally.
You're like, what the fuck? You're like, some part of you just wants them to like,
to just love me and just have that little safety net. But the safety net was holding me back, because if I looked at people I started out with, some aren't in it, some are soaring, and some are like, or, you know, it just doesn't really matter. But I mean, there are people that didn't have a safety net that I think really acted with more intensity or urgency. So, but I wouldn't regret the way I did things, because like you said, I love my story and things happen for a reason. But it's funny you mentioned the breakup, because I did say that right away. I'm like, you know, I would never have had the balls, or vulva, I should say, to me, because it was too good. It was too comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it was too reliable in terms of like the stable paycheck. But now it's like, okay, let's reevaluate some things. Let's like really start to like jack up the monetization and like the strategy. Although I really was already doing that this whole last year. I was acting as if I was only doing stand-up, even though I was doing both. Like, people were shocked. My friends' family were like, you have a job? And even coworkers I hadn't seen in a while in different offices were like, you still work here? And I'm like, yeah. So I don't know. I was kind of just burning that candle on both ends for way too long. And it caught up with me. Yeah. And you kind of like, all right, so I'm 25. Yeah. And I'm about to lose health insurance in July 17th. That's my birthday. See, your 26th birthday is probably your worst birthday. Yeah. Because you lose your health insurance. No. But I'm like, I'm thinking about my health way more. I'm like, damn, I got to start. That cavity I need to fill. Like, I need to get all this shit done. Totally. And like, but also I'm like, damn, like, I gotta work harder. It's funny. Che earlier on the last podcast, he was talking about, I was like, are you happy? Someone asked me that the other day and it freaked me the fuck out. What was your answer?
I had to think about it. Are you happy?
I am. Right. I think I breathed in and I kind of was dramatic for mostly because you kind of forewarned me. You're like, I freaked the fuck out, and I'm just like,
isn't that a weird question to be asked?
Yeah, it is. I guess I feel like I've been asked that because I do therapy weekly. I'm like, I feel like maybe I think about that more than I think about it a lot. Like my happiness level, I'm like really on top of it. I'm not saying I'm always happy, but like I'm aware. I have some really like kind of downer weeks, but I'm currently like on the upswing. I'm feeling really good this week. So I think maybe the optimism of the new year.
Yeah.
But I want to hear like, so what was your
I
answer?
was saying, yes, I was. Yeah, I'm happy. It's a tough one because it is like, but the reason I say all that is, damn, I do want to answer that. I don't want to just brush past it.
Yeah, answer it.
Nah, I'm not really happy right now. It's weird. I have this thing where like, all right, so this is one of those ones that it's like underground rap. No one real. I got to interview my favorite rapper of all time.
I want to hear about this.
Who has literally only been interviewed like 12 times in his entire life. This dude, West Side Gun, Conway's brother. Okay. I interviewed Conway too.
That's amazing.
But West Side's only been interviewed like 10 times in his whole life. And when I started the podcast, that was like the one person I wanted to interview.
Holy
and now I
moly.
did it. Thank you. But I feel like it's bad, but I feel like postpartum depression. I feel like that's what I was talking about before about the like, damn, like what am I going to do now? Like now I really have to like reassess where I'm at in life.
But it's a good thing. I mean, use that as proof that when you really set your sights on what you want and go for it and envision it, it happens. So it's like, sky's the limit. Although I feel that completely. I think that's why people have a fear of success and imposter syndrome, because they worry, once I get that thing, what's next? I'm included in that as well. I have a big fear of success. So it's way worse than fear of failure, because fear of success, you sometimes people don't even try, or they get like overwhelmed or paralyzed with anxiety. But interesting. So now you're like, well, where do you go from there? Postpartum. That's so true though. Like after a big event, like a wedding, you have like wedding blues, or like the holiday hangover, New Year's Eve blues. All those things are real. Yeah. You build up. Thing happens. It's like, well, now what?
Yeah. It's like your serotonin dips, and then you got to get back to normal life.
Totally. I mean, also I love to zoom out and like think about, sports teams or like big artists, like say they win the Academy Award or like the World Cup. Like, how do you top that? Like, don't you think they're also wondering like every other day, well, this is pointless. I did that big thing already. Like,
yeah. See, I used to go ham after a good set.
Same.
You know what I mean? You're like, I just fucking crushed. And then you just go like crazy. Yeah. Like partying. But then you're like, damn, no, that's your job.
Yeah, that's
like
not
your job. Like
that's not sustainable. Like,
yeah, it's like you don't see like a doctor like say like a surgeon save someone's life and then do fucking like lines
of coke.
Yeah,
like streaking through town, just like fucking everything up.
It's like no, they just have to go do their normal life afterwards.
Oh man, but they're also probably boring. I mean, smart people. But
coke's been talked about so much on the last few episodes. Right. I've never done coke before.
Me neither.
Really?
We're unicorns, yeah. Should we do a line or not?
Yeah, like you pull it out for special occasions.
I've been waiting for this moment for 33 years.
I didn't even like caffeine for most of my life.
Me neither.
But now I'm addicted to caffeine.
Caffeine's great.
It really is. But no, that's so funny. Yeah. I feel like you have a couple of jokes about coke.
I do. Maybe I'm a poser. I mean, I have this idea too that like give off like a very coke vibe. Like my brand's very like coke. I mean, I'm usually like you, like hyper, just good vibes. And so people assume I'm just so damn gullible and naive that like I was even at a party on New Year's and this young couple comes out of the bathroom and she's like, oh, we were just making out. And I'm like, get it, girl. Woo woo. My boyfriend's like, Janelle, they were doing coke. Like, how do you not see their eyes are dilated? And they're like dancing, break dancing right now. I mean, it was like kind of a younger crew from like BU alumni that my boyfriend went to school with. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I am like a 33-year-old, like almost like virgin, like not obviously not, but sometimes I feel like so nice, just like a nerd. I don't know how to put it. I don't know why.
Obviously not a virgin.
Yeah, why did I phrase it that way? I'm a huge slut, you guys.
Obviously not a virgin.
Not a virgin.
I feel like I have to say that I'm not a virgin, not obviously.
I mean, Do you have to say that? Like,
No,
you're a good looking, cool dude.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Also, you're very tall. Chicks love tall dudes. That's a real thing.
Yeah. And this is a real problem is people will think they don't hear me talk. If I'm on stage, you don't think about the sound of my voice. Like I have a silly voice. But like on stage, like I talk about like hanging with rappers and smoking weed. Yeah. So they're like, damn, this is a bad boy. And then they meet me and I'm not.
You're like a
I'm
big teddy bear.
I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah, you're like, want to come home and meet my mom, have lasagna?
Yeah.
So tell me I want to hear about the rap history and all that fun stuff. Like what you've been up to lately. So did you rap?
No. I have one song once that I did for my friends because they rapped. But I never wanted to be. I just always loved rap. Like that was when I was a kid. All I did was listen to rap. Like I don't know. Like I've always been this person. I want to ask you, like, what type of kid were you? You know, like I'll go back to mine. But like, what type of kid were you?
I definitely loved attention. I loved to be the ham goofball. I'd like to be like the comedic relief. So I tried to like beatbox for a while. I remember I hung out with like all the different groups, like different cliques. I tried to like hang with the jocks, hang with like the artsy hipster kind of people, hang with like, I was a cheerleading captain. I just like had different groups of people that I just sort of like not a chameleon, but always like kind of a joyful, like,
I don't mean to call
chick.
you out, but you're the cheerleading captain and you're doing, I doubt you're also with the fucking, you can't be that much like a
I would hang out with everybody.
You're the cheerleading captain.
With what do you mean with loser?
No, I mean, you can't like, you're probably, are you saying you were pop? Like, you just hung out with everyone.
I hung out with everyone.
All
yeah.
right,
I think making friends was like really easy for me. Because I just love people. I still love people. So I'm like looking at the pictures behind me that my friends made me on like this collage. I was just reminding me of like just wild high school days of wild for me. Like I was a really good kid, like National Honor Society, but I would like have parties all the time. And like my mom would be like, stay here. Like as long as you're drinking here, kids, like, you know, it had that nice duality of like pretty liberal upbringing. But you know, able to kind of party while getting good grades, doing like track, cheerleading, and like just loved having a lot of friends, all different groups is kind of what I mean. And so I just love to be around as like big extrovert and still kind of am, but I just like love to blend different people together. I'd be like, so and so's coming over, oh, and so like they'd be like, what? Like I just feel like I was kind of early on with the like mixing and mingling of different crews, if that makes sense.
No, I'm that way now.
Yeah. And I like to be that way. And I think it was kind of neat that I was kind of into that back then, because I feel like that's sort of like a more mature thought to be, but I liked that I did it then, and I still try to be that way.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, there's two types. The reason I ask is there's like, I didn't know if the reason I said loser before is I didn't know if you were saying you were bouncing around between groups because you didn't feel like comfortable with any of them, but no, you felt comfortable with everyone.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I was like
more the merrier mentality.
Yeah, see, I'm an only child, and that's my mentality throughout everything.
Nice.
Like, I'm alone in this world.
Yeah.
Someone said this to me once, and it ruined my life forever. Oh. They're like, you're an only child. So, like, when your parents die, you don't have anyone? And I'm like, oh shit, that's true as hell. Sad. It's true as hell, though. Like,
but hey, we choose our friends, and they become our family.
But see, you have to work towards having friends. You don't just get friends.
No, true. But then the cool part about friends is you nurture them like family. You can't also just rely on family without any nurturing.
Right. I know have friends
can,
that are like family. Like that's my brother, that's my sister. But it is like, that's my mentality.
No,
especially as a kid, I was like, just like alone. Like I would just be like chilling, listening to comedy and rap music. That's like all I did.
That is a bummer. I have to say, I know what you mean. I have this like silly throwaway tag on a joke where I'm like, I talk about being a middle child, and I like mention like firstborns, babies, and I'm like, oh, and only children, if you're out, like I'm really impressed. You should be at home doing a puzzle right now. Like I'm always like, go only is like they're really they got to push themselves, I think, to collect their own group community, because it is so hard probably to not have siblings. Siblings are built-in friends, but those relationships can obviously go sour, which we've all seen, unless you also put in some effort there. So it's not like it's all easy peasy. But also think about, this is fucked, but think about how you won't have to deal with like the loss of a sibling, because like a lot of people do deal with that and it fucks them up. I don't know. I was watching the Jonah Hill documentary with him and
the
therapist.
Stutz one? Yeah, that one's fire.
It's good. And like I thought it was interesting that they both connected over losing their brother, both Jonah and his therapist, Stutz, and broke my heart, because I am like, that's not right. Like if you're in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, I mean, hell, any age, my grandmother just lost her younger sister. She's like 80 something and she's got like 11 siblings, but she was so sad at that wake last week. And I'm just like, it's got to be so hard to lose a sibling. I don't know. It's
crazy that death is something we all deal with, but like no one, it does, like it separates you. Like you feel so alone with it. You ever wake up and have one of those days that you just wish there was someone there to talk to, or a way to just figure something out that you can't in your life? And unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual like that, but there are things to help you out, like BetterHelp. BetterHelp has therapists that are trained to help you figure out your challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. BetterHelp has helped 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient, secure, accessible anywhere, and 100% online. Everyone deserves to feel their best. BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. As the world's largest therapy service, they've matched millions of people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. All the benefits of in-person therapy, plus it's more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. It's there, right for you, right there. So get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/buckedup. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/buckedup, BUCKEDUP. Make sure to get the help that you need with BetterHelp. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, unless you have, I think, yeah, you're right. I don't think you can find a way to not be alone unless you have like a super good kind of like discipline to like go to support groups and all that, and like feel like you're part of a community. I know there's like all types of communities for like grieving and loss, but still, yeah, I that's my biggest fear always. Like I'll be having a great day. That's what's funny is like you asked if I'm happy. Like I am happy, truly. Could I be happier? Of course. Could I be less happy? Also, of course. Like it's all so relative to like how you look at it. I do believe it's like very, like it's a decision you make. Like you could decide to be happy. And I also feel like in my happiest moments of like most peace and harmony, I immediately go to, my anxiety drives me to go to like, oh, when's the other shoe gonna drop? Or what if so-and-so, things are going so well right now. What if God forbid, knock on wood, like one of my immediate family members pass away, like my dad or my mom, like it would just kill me. I hate always being one call away,
waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah, I feel that existential dread. Yeah. All right, I'll answer the happiness question. I'll finally get back to my answer. Yes, I'm happy with all that I've accomplished, but no, I'm not happy with like how I'm dealing with, let's say, my mental health. Like, cool, I focus on all that other shit, but if my life's in turmoil, then why the fuck, like, you kind of have to find the center balance of, like...
Yeah, I mean, what do you think you could be improving on if you're open to talking about it?
Be it, like, not falling for, like being more mindful. Like, being more mindful, not wasting so much time. Like, not wasting time to wallow.
Amen, brother. Amen. I
mean, you know what I mean?
We could be siblings now for the rest of the podcast.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
with
100%.
That? Like,
yes, that's another one of my big fears is that am I wasting time? And then time's just ticking and ticking and ticking. It's the only thing that's, never going to stop. But it's just a number. Time's just a number, and we have to not let it weigh so heavily. And one thing a day, if you have a forward movement, like I'm trying to break things up into smaller places so I can celebrate those small victories. And, but yeah, mindfulness is huge. I just started like meditating most days before I start the day.
You use Headspace?
I use Calm, the Calm app.
Okay, I use Headspace.
Okay, right on. So, I mean, that's an easy kind of step. I do when I'm still laying in this bed right here. I'll just like listen. I mean, don't sleep through it, but I definitely like, it's a nice way to ease into the day. And that at least helps me. And I guess in those moments of existential dread, like we're totally not present, are we, or mindful? Because if we were, we wouldn't be worried about something happening 10, 20, 3, who knows how many years away.
Yeah. It's funny that you said, like, asked me about the rap shit, the origin of the rap shit.
I want to hear all of it.
That, like, it pertains into the conversation we're having, which is weird.
Okay.
I started this podcast at the beginning of quarantine because I had went through a bad breakup and I wasn't taking care of myself. So I started the podcast to hold myself accountable. I only had other comedians on the podcast in the beginning, and I literally would just ask them about how they're taking care of themselves.
That's so smart.
I could kind of learn how to do it. That's what Bucked Up was. I have the same bio on Instagram, a self-help podcast from someone who doesn't know what the buck they're doing. That's what it started.
I love that.
I start interviewing rappers who I want to interview and like big comedians and people I want to talk to. The director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre
That's
I had
badass.
on last month.
Holy shit.
Just whoever I want to talk to, and it becomes the thing that I actually love to do.
So cool.
But then I lose.
Such a dream.
I lose that beginning of holding myself accountable in health, which is the whole thing that the podcast started over. So that's where I'm like,
real.
Damn, like I'm doing all this cool shit, but the whole reason of this shit is to hold myself accountable, and that's the last thing I'm doing right now.
No, I just love how you were so like, I'm doing all this cool shit, and then you're like, what's the last thing I'm doing?
All right, I'm doing all this cool shit, but I'm 40 pounds heavier than I was.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, first step is like awareness, right? And you're
But that's what I mean. I'm not holding myself
accepting it.
accountable.
But you're kind of come back to like the foundational building blocks of the why. And that's so true, because I guess if I could relate to that, it would be when I beat myself up over like a bad set or not being where I want to be maybe in my career with stand up. And my sister, who's my best friend, will remind me like, Janelle, why'd you go into this?
Stop bragging.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
In my face, I was like, oh shit. Oh my God. Oh, you're good. You're like, I'm so like, oh no, I screwed up.
I'm just kidding.
That was funny.
I'm
you
sorry.
got me. No. You're like, I'm like, what am I bragging about? Yeah, no, but she's cool. Okay, yeah. You can borrow her anytime you want. She's a midwife. She's dope. But I never say dope. I feel like I'm turning into a rapper. Hanging out with you. Dope as hell. She's dope as hell. I guess the whole point being though that I was getting in my head, not taking care of myself around stand up, basically just beating myself up any chance I could and this, that, or whatever, and holding myself back in different ways. And she said, Janelle, why'd you decide to do this in the first place? When I started it way back in the day, I was living in LA, like started it just for fun in 2012. Just had some downtime, and I had a really stressful day job as like an assistant in Hollywood to like a big wig. And she said, you did it for fun and to de-stress from your day. She's like, go back to why you started it. It's just fun again. And I'm like, you're right. It was just fun. And it was why I did well in the beginning, because it was just fun. And I don't know if that's similar, if it like is a similar path to what you're saying about like you started it. That's exactly what I'm saying, is like you started it with a real sincere purpose and meaning and direction, and it started taking off because you had that authentic reason, and then you lost touch with the original reason why you started to do it.
Yeah.
But that's just natural. That's like human nature, I feel, and you're not alone in that, because I think we have to always remind ourselves that, even with relationships, right? You're with someone great, take them for granted. With someone not so great, you think, oh, it's fine, just keep going. And like, you got to go back to like, how was I when I first met this person? How was I when I first, I don't know, became friends? It doesn't, not even romantic relationships. I even think like friendships or like family relationships. Like I try to look back as much as I can. I read old diary entries and journal entries just to be like, am I holding myself to a level of growth and like compassion? I hope so. Not always.
Yeah.
And like, you're not alone in that. I think it's really hard to like be healthy, lose weight, but I feel like first step is like talking about it, and now you're talking about it, which is like, that's huge.
Yeah. That is crazy. You just blew my mind with that.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Cheers. No,
I'm so
I like the parallel because it's true. You do something.
And that's why it took off. That's why
and
it
then
did so well. Because it was so
it's like
pure.
just draining. It's like draining the water from the washcloth. It's like you're just trying to get whatever you can out of it, but you also need time for it to like
fill back up.
Yeah. Like
fill
I
up your
remember
cup.
Judd Apatow talking in some interview about making movies, and he's like, he only makes movies when the trash can is full, like the trash can in his brain is full. And then he like empties the trash can with his creation, and then he like waits for it to fill back up.
Whoa.
And that's why I think the focusing on real life shit is important, because it makes you hold yourself accountable that you're not just putting all into one thing and not burning yourself out.
For sure. Balance. And I have a mentor in LA who I love for stand up, and he said to me the other day, he said, anyone who's like pretty successful, not anyone, like most people who are pretty successful in this industry, like in showbiz, like we're talking, treat their body like an instrument, kind of like a finely like tuned instrument. So it is important to have like the mind, soul, body connection when we do this type of work. Cause like you're traveling, you're like lugging gear, you're putting yourself out there on stage, but behind the camera, in front of the camera. And it's important to kind of like have your ship, like your boat's like all tidy and taken care of. So like when you get that call, like you can just speed on over there. Like you got, the deck's clean, all the ports are in place, like no holes, no water coming in. Like you're responsible for your shit when you're running your own business. And that's how like we need to treat our body, mind, soul. And I'm not always that way. I need to listen to this and hear it back.
No, of course. Whenever we say stuff, we're saying it to ourselves
right.
too. But like,
I don't want you to think I've like figured it out, because I'm like skinny fat. I'm I never work out. I just have good metabolism, and it's like actually good and bad.
But I totally, it's like when you start, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna act like I didn't, but I did.
Oh no! It's
I forgot what we were talking about.
Well, I just also
I'm already still. It's so funny. I just want to say it's so funny. Usually, I walk into these places that aren't a very nice home, and I get offered hard drugs. I get offered paraphernalia. I get offered illegal things. And I got offered Cheez-Its today. And it was very nice.
And Wild Basin.
Yeah, all right. So the alcohol's okay, but I
was like, you want a plate of lasagna? I mean, I'm at my mom's house. So.
I've been handed guns before.
Yeah. Oh shit! I'm over here like, you don't want to come to my parents' house. You're like, no, Janelle, please take me to the suburbs of Westford.
Literally.
Adopt me. Sam just like moves in. I'm like, I gotta go back to LA. You're like, I'm gonna be living here.
So you did it just for fun. You didn't have like grandiose dreams of what you're doing. No, now.
I can't believe you're only 25. You're so wise and like mature and talented for your age. I mean, I was like 22 when I started. I was like dicking around. Like I wasn't doing it that much. I wasn't taking it seriously. It was truly something to help me unwind after a stressful work day, meet friends. I was in LA living alone, and I didn't have a big network because all my family and friends were here, and I was looking for a community. And my dad suggested it. I had like all this downtime in my hands. He goes, why don't you take a class in stand-up comedy? I'm like, you're nuts. I wouldn't do good in that. He's like, I think you could. And he was a huge...
Why did he say that?
I think I've been making him laugh my whole life, and I think he also enjoyed kind of like living vicariously through me by telling me jokes. He's a really funny guy, and I'm pretty damn goofy with him and with my whole family, and like pretty dark, twisted, perverse, like with jokes in our family. And like he was really a huge fan of Chelsea Lately at the time. She was blowing up with her show. Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Lately was a big show back then in 2012. And so he was like, yeah, you could be like the next Chelsea Handler. And then I did one class and I was like, damn, I'm hooked. You're right. I do love this. It was pretty unexpected. But also at another point, like Jonah Hill with the weight stuff, I'm thinking again, like Jonah Hill had all that like body image shame stuff he talked about in his documentary, which I thought was like so brave and vulnerable, and even goes to show you that like he was at such an unhealthy place physically, mentally, emotionally, that when he was at the height of his career, he was disassociating completely and the most unhappy. So like that's a good reminder too when you zoom out and you're like, oh, what's wrong with me, blah blah. It's like someone like him, all the opportunities in the world, be fucking acting alongside with Leonardo DiCaprio and be miserable.
Do you not like talking about yourself?
Maybe not. Right? Like how I switch gears so much.
I was gonna let you go, but no, I'm gonna call you out on it.
Go ahead, call me out. I guess, yeah, I don't know why I'm being so coy. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I don't like to hear myself talk about myself. I like to always feel
That's
like
your stand-up thing.
I don't like to hear myself.
No, like you talk about yourself on stage, so why would you do it? And
I'm super autobiographical on stage. I'm not
real life.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about myself. We can. I don't want to lose my train of thought. I wanted to remind you about the Jonah Hill thing, or call it out to anyone who might be wanting to watch that movie, because I do recommend
Stutz,
it.
yeah, it's really
Stutz, good. Yeah. Well, because it was like crazy for me to hear how unhappy he was too with the level of fame he had and success, and so I think that's a nice reminder for us.
But that's what I was talking about. Taking care of your, like, you have to have your life in order if you want to enjoy.
Enjoy the way you've worked for. Also,
like, all right, I'll tell this story.
Yeah.
So I'm on stage. You know what Red Rocks is in Colorado?
Yeah, it's a great venue.
I'm on stage at Red Rocks, sold out event on 3 grams of mushrooms, mad about I ate 2 desserts. You know what I mean? Like,
what?
Like that's
an
the
incredible
type
show.
Like that's the crazy shit where it's like, damn, if I was just happy about, like, if we're going back to that thing, like if I was happy about like life shit, then I would have been enjoying that moment more. But because my mind was on other shit, I can't enjoy the moment that I'm in.
Oh, because you were thinking about,
and that's the Jonah Hill thing.
Yeah, you were taken out of, you weren't mindful, like back to what we always talked about.
So what did you think you were going to be doing before you did stand up? Like the day before you did stand up the first time, who did you think you were?
Oh, I remember calling up to that mentor I told you about in LA, Jerry Katzman. I called him up and I was like, I'm not going to make it to the class showcase. He's like, why? I'm like, oh, I'm just too busy. I'm at work. I was a junior music publicist, working with cool clients like Duran Duran and Mattis Yahoo and Lance Morissette, Lenny Kravitz. Some pretty cool bands. And Gautier, remember Gautier?
Yeah, I was just listening to that song literally like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed.
That song's fire,
right? It's so good. I really enjoyed.
And I feel bad because he definitely has other music, but
it's okay. He owns that. One hit wonder vibes, but. No, I just really enjoy like writing press releases and going to concerts and linking up bands with New York Times, LA Times, things. I thought I was going to be a music publicist or a music supervisor or and I remember I was in this stressful job we were working at a Courtney Cox and David Arquette's office in LA because my boss was friends with them, and I used to get like in trouble all the time because I was such a little like noob to the industry. I just remember like walking into my office and it was like the office that David Arquette used to use, and it was like he's kind of a hoarder, and so he had like these nipple pasties from like Playboy 1960 framed on the wall, and he had this like huge dominatrix chick like on her hands and knees and like a glass plaque over her. It was like a table, but it like freaked me out every day. I walked in, it was just gloomy, edgy, dark, and it was just like a lonely job. I'd clock in at 8 a.m. I wouldn't leave till 8 p.m. It was such an intense job. I remember I said like I wanted to take this out of my office because it felt demeaning to me, and I got in trouble for like moving things around, and I just didn't feel comfortable there. But I thought like, oh, I can't leave this job to even go do the showcase. I was just so stressed out and pretty unhappy. And then I did the showcase and everything clicked. I'm like, this is what I should be doing. And then pretty shortly after, I left that job to get an easier, less stressful job so I could spend more time doing stand-up. And I actually went and worked at NBC Universal. it was like a cool job, just same level of intensity, but it was more laid back intensity and like description and kind of like vibe of what it was. But like the boss and the department was way more chill, and it was on the lot.
No dominatrix.
Yeah, no. It's funny that looking back, like I would have laughed at that. I don't know why back then I was just like, oh, it's just so dismissive. I walk in and see these like so objectifying. I don't know why it was so like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like righteous or something. Like I was kind of funky about it. Like, but went on to work in music at NBC, and I loved that job. That job was so fucking cool. Bands would come in, managers would come in, they'd wine and dine us to try to get placements in our TV shows anywhere on like cable divisions, NBC proper, and literally I'd spend half my day just like bands would come in doing like acoustic sets, like the cool Fits and Tantrum came in, 21
Pilots. That was one of the best concerts I ever saw. Was Fits and the Tantrums.
That's amazing. Where was it?
House of Blues in Boston.
Oh, I love House of Blues. Foundation Room. Oh yeah. Anyway, so I thought I'd be doing something in music. Definitely music, and music or PR or like marketing, and then I just love music. It was just cool.
Yeah. What was your dream when you were a kid? What did you think you were going to be doing?
I wanted to be an actor for sure, and then I realized how vapid and cruel that industry was, and I still have like.
How did you realize that as a kid? I love the kid who's like, these actors are so empty inside. I cannot.
You know what it was? I had parents that were pretty hip, and they didn't fall for too many tricks. So like we went to like one of those stupid like Star Search things at like a hotel lobby in like maybe Burlington, Mass or something. My brother and I went. We were so young, and they were like, oh. The first day they're like, oh, we love the little boy, we don't really like the girl. And the next day we come back, oh, we love the girl, we don't love the little. So it was really strange to like try to play us against one another. And then at the end they're like, we actually want both of them, but you got to drop like $5,000 to bring them to New York for like this pilot audition thing. It was too many steps, and my parents were like, this is a scam. And I was like, yeah, maybe you're right. Although actually I didn't have a mature reaction. I was actually so bummed. Looking back, my brother and I still joke, we're like, we could have been on like a Nickelodeon pilot. It would have been huge by now if you weren't so fucking cheap. Like
Dan Schneider feet
right?
pics. So was that the dude's name?
I don't know.
The dude who created iCarly. Didn't he get in trouble for asking for fucking feet pics for all the little girls on that show?
Gross.
I was just reading an article.
Meanwhile, I tried to like sell feet pics to someone. They were like, "Oh no, thanks." No, I'm just kidding. No, I have nice feet. I have elegant feet. I do. I feel like I want everyone to see. The toes all go in a row like that. I'm surprised that you don't get enough money. Like, I was like asking a friend who's a comedian who's like obsessed with feet. You know, we all know. We all know. And I was like, what could I get for these? And he was like, the number was not high enough. Or like, I was with a bunch of friends who were on like a bachelorette. I took a photo of all of our feet, sent it to him, and the number was underwhelming. And I'm like, no, not worth it.
You're like, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, I was like, these things are beautiful, elegant feet. I mean, I'm not that cocky about them. It's funny how I'm like, I don't want to talk about my career, but let's talk about my feet. Yeah.
You took your socks off before the podcast. All right. I have my full Timbs on right now. They're not Timbs, they're Nikes.
All right, I'm putting socks on now.
You're the one who fucking.
I told you could take your shoes off, but you didn't wanna. I never let them out like
I've never had a guest show their feet off on the podcast before.
Okay, well, first time for everything. Oh, I hope this isn't the thing that you clip out. That'd be so sad.
Trust me, I don't want.
He's like, no, I don't want it. I want to keep those away.
I'll like cut that part out. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, socks back on. Oh, you know what else I can do with my feet while we're talking about it? I double jointed, so I'm surprised that like these don't. And I can pinch too. I can peel a banana and.
Yeah, you literally wouldn't answer any of the questions about starting comedy.
I could actually pinch you pretty hard, but I'll save it.
I don't think I want
okay, I won't do
a bruise from you fucking foot pinching.
I'll answer stand-up questions. I don't. What do you want to hear?
No one really. I like that you just did it for fun, and now it's that's to hear you talk about it now.
Sorry, yeah, that's a good point, Sam.
This is a serious podcast.
How do we come back from the foot debacle? Foot transition. You want to look at my hands? Hands are pretty nice. No, I think it's funny because a lot of people that do stand up are like huge, like nerds, comedy nerds going into it, like studied it, watched SNL growing up. Not me at all. I like fell into it. If anything, I wanted to be an actor more, but I thought way harder. I like with stand up, you could have more control and power over, I'm going to perform when I say I'm going to perform. I can like package my brand. I can like repeat these things. Like it's, you work on it, not like improv, you throw it away, or acting. It's like, I don't want to read someone else's lines. Like when I learned I could read my own shit, I was like, oh, there's nothing better than this. You know, I want to have the level of control over it. And so, but I was so uninformed about all of the people, the major players. I wasn't someone who studied it or watched it or like snuck into clubs as a kid. So I was like an interesting person to start stand up because it fit my personality, but it wasn't something that I ever really went to and enjoyed. I maybe went to one show or two shows, a handful of shows, on like 2 or 3 shows before I ever did stand up. I wasn't someone who was like, I want to do it, but I'm nervous, and watched it for years and sat in the back of room for mics. Like I was like, I'll fucking do it. And I did it and just ran with it and learned as I did it.
Do you remember your first joke?
Oh God, I don't remember the first joke, but no. I mean, I do remember a lot of the first jokes from my first set, but I can't think of the first joke I wrote. Yeah.
But you felt it, right, when you got off a first set?
Oh, yeah. It was best feeling of my life. I remember, again, the thing I told you about when I was at Cabot in Beverly in October, it like crystallized in my mind. Like I was looking out into the audience and I feel that still in me where I was just like, oh, this is what I meant to be doing. It just clicked. It was the flow state. It's like grateful
you chased
feeling.
That dragon from the first time.
Yeah, and it was such a fucking fire show because that mentor I told you about, Jerry, who does the classes, like really warmed up the audience. Like this is their first time. Like it was a very supportive, generous audience. And we had worked on these jokes, crafting them for 10 weeks straight. And every class we had every week was like 4 hours long. And we broke out into groups outside of the classes separately. In addition, we spent about 8 hours a week just developing our material every week for 10 weeks. And so when we got time to do that showcase, just 5-minute sets, we all had fire sets. And I had never known what it's like to get laughs. And I had been doing mics just thinking, oh, this is just how it is. So we got up there and got laughs. I was like, I still watched my first set every once in a while to see how excited I was. Oh my God, you guys are laughing. No, seriously, I'm not used to it. That got a huge laugh. I'm like, no, really, stop. You're distracting me. Like I literally had to be like, stop laughing. I'm actually not knowing what goes next. Like I was so thrown by the huge reception that you do chase that high.
Yeah.
You chase it. And like, that was probably the best show of my life. No, I mean, it was just like, cause I, like I said, I almost didn't go. I remember I was working that day and I actually called up Jerry and said, I'm not going to come. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, and I had not shown up for other stuff. I had done UCB.
All right. Did you not show up because you were busy, or did you not show up because you're scared of success?
Both.
Like you were saying.
Scared. Not at that point. I don't even think I was thinking of success. I think fear of success is something I feel recently as I do start to get accolades in my career. But at the time I was just scared shitless to get on stage.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
10 years ago. That was 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kept you going?
Chasing that high, like you said, chasing that high, and not even the high of the laughter, but the high of me knowing this is what I'm meant to do. Having that click when I was on stage, that vision, it was crystal clear, and it was also crystal meth. No, it's
like I was chasing 2 highs.
Yeah, I was chasing 2 highs. Never done coke, but love the crack. No, it was just like it was something that I was like, I'm going to dedicate my life to this. But I really sort of half-assed it in LA. It wasn't until I moved to New York in 2014 that I really chased it. So even though the intention was there in LA, it really wasn't the hustle that I should have been doing, or that I guess was capable of doing, because I did have that job at NBC still. Then I moved to LA and I was like, oh, I was super cocky when I first started. And I came to LA, I'm like, I don't want to do a mic. I've been doing this for 2 years. I remember the cockiness. It is cringeworthy now, the things I said and things. The more you do it, the more you realize how amazingly brilliant people are in it. But I just had this like fresh confidence. It's like ignorance is bliss. And I wish I could go channel some of that now. You know, you lose that the more you do it. I think it chips away. You get more and more humble, and you learn how, like what Gandhi says, right? What is it that the wiser you get, the more you know all that you don't know. Was it Gandhi? I'm just making that shit up. I don't know if it's Gandhi, but it was like someone smart.
I do not know.
Fact check that. Hey, Ma, the meatloaf. Look that up. Mom's downstairs. I gotta know. I have no idea. But yeah, I quickly was like, oh, I need to do mics.
Yeah.
I thought I was like too good for mics in certain shows.
When you get to the top of one level, you realize you're at the bottom of another.
Oh,
when you get to the top of level 1, you realize you're at the bottom of level 2, and there's 98 other levels.
Sam, I wasn't even at the top of any level. I just felt like, oh, I've done shows. I know my way around LA. I get shows here. I make people laugh.
Yes, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, that's a smart thing. I guess I'm just saying.
Every time you go into the room, like the cave, it gets wider and wider.
Yeah.
Like,
I just had a lot of unearned confidence back then, but I think you need that to get started, and you still need it, right? Not unearned, but you need a level of confidence to keep going. But just the culture shock of going from LA to New York and stand up was like no other, and it was really defining for my career to like start like putting my ego aside like right away. I was like, oh, I need to check this at the door. I need to leave this ego in LA and like really start from scratch in New York.
Yeah.
And then coming here was funny too, because I'm from this area, but I never had really done that much stand up here. And people were like, who the hell are you? And why are you trying to get on? And I was just like, oh no, look, I'm funny. And like, oh, where have you come from? Like, why did you leave New York to come? Everyone was like, wait, you started in LA, then New York, now you're back here. Like I did the opposite of what most people did.
Yeah.
But it's only because I just moved out to LA for work and kind of like worked backward. And then the pandemic brought me here for a little bit. But.
Well, that's what I'm scared of, is because I love the art form so much that I want to be good enough for the things I get. You know, like I care about Nick so much that I want to be good enough that I'm doing Nick's. You know,
already are though. Like I think also that we put too much importance on certain venues or names or shows.
Of course, but I just mean any headlining show. Like,
yeah,
of course Nick's is an accolade, whatever. But I just mean like the idea of it, of like, oh no, this is like when you were a kid, like when you were 16, like when I was 16, Lamont Price brought me to Nick's for the first time.
Oh my God.
Will
cool.
Noonan was there.
That's
Dan
amazing.
Crone, Sam J. Like these are all these. I know all these people from when I was 16 years old, not even doing stand up, just
so
being a
wild.
fan. To now, it's like, damn. All right, 9 years later. Like, I want to make it proud, you know?
You
like,
are, though. I mean, you are.
Yeah. All right. Do you get hate online?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I get hella hate, and it does affect me. Like,
you can't let it affect you. I had a friend that posted something really poignant the other day, and it was like basically saying how the more, you know, when you get hate like that, they're actually just like sad people, and like they're just looking to attack someone that has a dream. And his name is Tamer Katana, is like a hilarious comic, and he actually shared like some hate. He got some hate messages, and just it was really cathartic for me, because he's like, for my fellow comedians or creators, there are a lot of people in pain out there during the holidays. They'll look at our posts, videos, and art as an opportunity to take swings at us, try to treat us like they're punching bags. And, you know, humans are weird. If you dare to have dreams or goals, people who don't will hate you. Ignore them, delete them, move past them. I think that's beautiful. He said, he typed up some more. I'd say follow him if you want. Because I got a message recently. I just have to laugh. I show my boyfriend, I'm like, this is absurd. This guy wrote to me, you are the worst thing to happen to women since woman. And it's just, I know, it's almost comical. He's like, you're terrible. Whoever told you were funny, just like destroying me. You were the single worst human I've ever seen. Like, I'm like, holy shit, dude. What did I ever do to you? Like, and I post a lot of, you know, reels of, I have a reel of one of my first jokes from that first set. We're talking about maybe one of the first jokes I wrote. I don't remember that. Like on Facebook, I think it's up to like 1 million or 2 million views, and it's like 300 comments of people telling me like how horrible I am. But I'm laughing all the way to the bank. You know, Meta will pay me, Facebook will pay me for that algorithm bump, and that's the joke I did at the Wilbur. That's a really funny joke about just a funny anecdote about, you know, whatever, seeing seeing my dad's penis as a little girl, like like a wholesome funny thing I said to my mom of like, why does daddy have a tail kind of situation.
Yeah.
And always does well at shows, and people just hate on it. Got tons of hate on TikTok, got tons of hate on Facebook, hates on Instagram, people just ripping me apart, saying saying that they're not my therapist, saying I have incest issues, all this weird shit that's not real about a fucking joke. It sucks. I don't know who does this, why they take time out of their day to shit on a lot of guys do these fucking emojis, coffee emojis saying woman comedians. I don't know if it's a thing. It's a trending thing. I'm sure you heard of it. It's really sickening. Everyone gets hate, but women get these like weird incel men that are like doing emojis, like woman talk. It's like, fuck you, man. If you don't want to be on our page, go. I've never commented something negative to somebody I don't know, like, or anyone I do know. I just try to spread positivity. That's like back to Jonah Hill documentary. He said social media is like smoking cigarettes. Like, he's on Instagram. He's not on Instagram. That inspired me. I hate that we have to be on social media. People say it's so lucky nowadays. Your career is booming and all this because of the podcast, but like, aren't you a little envious of people that like made it back in the like the Johnny Carson days?
100%.
All they had to do was fucking write jokes, hustle, and show up and perform them. Now you have to have a podcast, gotta have a web series, gotta have a script, gotta have 10,000 followers plus 1 million on TikTok. But it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And it's like toxic. Yeah, of course it affects us. We gotta try to not let it affect us. How can it not? People will be celebrated by an entire theater of people getting a standing ovation, but they'll just remember that one fucking hater on Instagram. It's not, doesn't make sense. It's not fair.
No, it doesn't make sense.
But it's the human condition.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
It's that waiting for the other shoe to drop.
But you know what? You can delete them. I started deleting them, and then I've been working with this great guy in social media, Bobby Ulrich, and he was like, no, Janelle, like every comment is a $sign. Like, just laugh it off. So it's a good muscle building activity to try not to give a fuck. It's so hard.
Yeah.
But you got to channel that on stage too, because the less fucks you give, the funnier you are. It's direct correlation.
And it is the like, yeah, you can't be like, that's what comes with people seeing you.
I mean, Amy Schumer. So my boyfriend's so sweet. Shout out to my boyfriend, Drew Lucas. He like saw I was really upset one day and took like screenshots of everyone just shitting on Amy Schumer. It was like one of her jokes that she, I think maybe was cut for, what did she host? Not the Oscars. It was like Golden Globes. I don't even remember. It was some award ceremony, and she had like some blue jokes that she like, they wouldn't let her do on air, but she brought them onto Instagram, and like people were ripping her apart. And you know, she has 12 million followers, and she is so rich and seems so happy with her husband and her son. I really admire her as an artist and as a woman, and I just see it everywhere. So it's like, if the people you admire have haters, that means you're going places. You can't please everyone. We're not working in ice cream here, you know?
Yeah.
And people comment to me a lot, which is another Amy Schumer type. And I'm like, thank you. That's a huge compliment. They say it like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's
someone successful
who's really making an impact, who's tackling really hard topics.
Yeah.
Winning awards for like an incredible show that ran 7 seasons. It's back rebooted. It's like, thank you. How many movies has she made? Like, she's incredible. She's blazed a path for female comedians. Anyone that can't agree with that, like, I don't know what to say to them.
Yeah. And it's just because they're not on their path. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's true. Like, all right, before I even did anything, I could see myself like being like, that sucks, to whatever. But now that I'm doing something, I'm like, why would I take time out of my day to say something sucks?
You're busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. Or like, why would I shit on someone else on their path when I'm on my path? Like,
right.
we're not gonna interact. We're not gonna collide. And also, I don't give attention to things I don't like.
The attention goes where the energy flows. So yeah, if you are focused on saying negativity to someone that may or may not deserve it, what's that do? You don't feel better about that. You're like, I did that.
Yeah.
What do you get out of that? Like, it's so sad. That's why I loved my friend Hammer's post, because it shows like, I actually forget, like, these are just sad people. Like, hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see people on the street and you're like, oh, that's a crazy person. But then you don't realize that's the person who's probably saying this shit.
Oh. Oh, see, I think people on the street, I always think like homeless people.
No, I don't mean like that. I
'cause
just
I'm
mean like, all right, you see someone in a restaurant and they're being a dickhead to the waitress. And that's the person who's also writing crazy shit. But when you see them and you're like, that's a asshole right there.
Oh, interesting. I actually never think about like who are these people out in real life. I kind of always picture them as like trolls and cells, like living in a dark basement of like their moms. I mean, I say that as I'm at my mom's house, but like
you're not in the basement though.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
on the second floor.
Yeah. Heading back to LA on Monday. But no, it is nothing against. I lived with my mom here like for a year or two, like when the pandemic started. I loved it. I love living here. I just they're not happy. People that aren't going places that are just like truly stagnant are gonna, I guess, shit on you. But fuck it. Fuck the haters. There's this great song. I mean, that's why I like to listen to rap. They talk about haters, right? Like I listen to Megan Stallion, that song, Her. She's like, all that hate's giving me a pretty ways. Like, eat that hate. Like, I love that shit. Like, I listen to like, Nicki Minaj or like Doja Cat or whatever. Anytime I need like a dose of like, confidence. Yeah. Like, especially what's her face? Who did like Wet Ass Pussy?
Cardi B.
Like, they don't give a fuck, or they pretend they don't give a fuck, and it works.
But that's the same thing that they like about comedians. It's because when we're on stage, it's like we don't give a fuck.
I think they're way cooler. If I had like more musical ability, I would not do stand up. I just like,
you'd be a rapper.
Yeah, for sure. Or see that guitar behind you that I barely touch? I would just be like in a band. Yeah.
It is funny though, because it is true. But they do see comedians that way. Because I'll be around real gangsters.
Cool.
And they'll introduce me as like, Sam says crazy shit. You know what I mean? Because like they think we're the ones saying like.
Yeah, well, because we're up there fully alone. I mean, I guess they are too, but they have like.
The grass is always greener.
Yeah, no. It's definitely the purest, rawest art form that's the trickiest. There's no backup track. There's no.
And anyone thinks they can do it because it's just talking.
God, I'm so sick of everyone saying, I could do it. I want to do this. And like, great, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Fucking do it. I'm not stopping you.
My friend MeFucks, he was the CTO of Capital One Bank.
Wow.
He was the fourth in charge of the fourth biggest bank in the world.
I'm a big fan of Capital One, so tell him what up. Tell him I have good feet.
So,
no, I love Capital One. I'm a big fan. Has been for a while.
But we'll end on this. He was saying that it's not about the ideas that you have; it's how you implement them. Anyone can have good ideas, but how many people can follow through?
Yeah, who executes versus obsesses over, ruminates.
And on that, can you plug your shit? Because my computer's about to die and I need to plug it in so we don't lose this. For
sure. No, this has been a blast. Follow me on Instagram at Janelle Jokes, and TikTok and Twitter, all the same handle at Janelle Jokes, JANELLE Jokes. What do I have coming up? Going back to LA on Monday. I got some shows out there. I'm going to be in Portsmouth, New Hampshire this weekend for some shows. Hit me up on Instagram.
New Hampshire this weekend.
Oh, right on. We should meet up. And I think that's it. I'll be at Sketchfest end of the month. If anyone's in San Francisco listening, San Francisco Sketchfest. And then first weekend of February, I'll be in Atlanta for the West End Comedy Festival. And any people in Alaska listening, I'll be there in April. That's probably all I can think of for now. So
that's dope as hell.
Thanks, man.
See me headlining Detroit House of Comedy January 19th. Headlining Next Comedy Stop April 28th and 29th. Oh, and I'll announce it here. I'm doing a special 420 show in Philly on 420 at Crate Diggers, which is the best record store in the whole world.
Hell yeah.
Pop on out for 420. Thank you so much for doing this.
This is fun. Thanks for having me. I love this.
Bye.
Okay, bye. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. Hey.